Hello, my name is Lydia, and I will be interviewing an individual who, in my opinion, has a very deluded mind. He has many names. Some call him Bobo, War Corner, Jonah Baya, Wajakoya, Rasta Man, just to name a few. I call him the Conscious Man. He has been involved in a movement called Konambaya in Kenya since the early 2000s. It will be up to you to decide from what you are about to hear, whether he is true to himself, or outrageously insane and should probably stop smoking what he might already be having in stock. I might be wrong. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Konambaya experience with War Corner, aka the Conscious Man himself. Mr. Conscious Man, thank you for accepting the invite. My name is Lydia and welcome to my interview. I recognize the work you have been doing, trying to pass a message across the masses. May I ask you to tell us something about the Konambaya movement in Africa? What is it? What does it stand for?
The movement is in itself a mindset. Konambaya is a Swahili phrase that means, to take a wrong turn. That we are all a collective existence, and we are manifested in human bodies as consciousness, designed as an awareness that looks through our eyes with righteousness, but along the way down the generations, we seem to have all made the wrong turns in our decisions. Think of it as the software of the universe. It is not limited by the human form. That means it is everywhere.
When you say think of it as the software, how exactly do you mean that?
Since it is universally available in every living thing, it is considered as one norm. Experienced individually, it is so powerful that it only becomes limited by the ego storm. This means people will bring with them a billion energy sources, chain reactions, perspectives and opinions. Individuality would therefore mean that everyone's life is just a fraction.
Well, how can the Konambaya develop themselves as a separate society?
Well, I don't want to call it a separate society, since we all came from the same tree and we are factors of the whole interaction. Therefore sanity would require us to make peace amongst ourselves, to align with the collective books of consciousness in our heads. Noble things such as giving thanks for everything of value some of us have forgotten, but actually go a long way in blessing someone's soul, like a silver spring.
Well, in other words then, you think the Konambaya has first to raise himself to a status of alignment with others?
Yes.
Now, what happens? Assuming that he can do that, would you or not, then, be in favor of integration, let's say, in the schools or any place else?
We integrate like this, by doing the things that the mind doesn't like in an intense manner. It's just like breaking free from the misalignment of an old spanner. If it is in a school, we give ourselves no way out of the chain by going back again, and again, and again. It's already too much to compete with your brain, you don't need another, to be sane.
Well, how can a minority group in this continent, so-called, stand on its own 2 feet?
Since you are a reflection of your vanity, we tend not be attached to any negative society. You don't know the next thought ahead, neither will you know how fast your love will spread.
But how, from a practical point of view, can the Konambaya be self-sufficient?
Aligning to your rules require the most important questions to be asked. You need to create a training plan for each task. We encourage others to divide their areas of concern into compartments, with visions, habits, and thought departments. It's like this, and I'll give you a few examples. To be energetic enough to handle your own body weight, you have to respect the process it takes your efforts to germinate, isn't it? To be disciplined enough to handle your emotions, your ego should be as tiny as a drop of water in the oceans. To be solutional enough to handle your own problems, you need to outgrow this maze of debts and bills, and try to resolve them. To be loving enough to stand the hatred and betrayal in the mortal world, you have to value conscious response, over impulse and portrayal. To be transcendent enough to stand fear, you have to focus on eternity, to handle your vanity and persevere. To be appreciative enough not to regret death, you have to recognize the scope of God to your last breath. I hope you understand what I am trying to get at with this.
Do you really think that this makes them any better off? Do you think that this gives them any more dignity? Do you?
What do you mean?
I mean, isn't this madness? Isn't this the goal towards which you are reaching?
Well, call it what you may, madness is total focus on the sublime. What happens though, the future still comes a day at a time. On this planet you can only be sure of death, as you decide whatever you want to feel while lying on your deathbed battling with your last breath. We will proceed with it, as long as it will matter in the coming years. And never shall we be held captive by past mistakes and arrears. While loving yourself is the greatest revolution, can you still touch the same water twice as a solution?
What is the ambition of the Konambaya?
I just outlined it. In summary, perhaps to pull you back into perspective, it's all about taking a turn. Appreciating every value we have, celebrating our gains, our breath and moments with others like it is our last, until our bodies are part of the equation of the dust we walk upon.
If Konambaya ultimately gain control as you predict, what do you plan to do with other societies?
When we gain back control, we will tune into the energies and frequencies meant for the creation of mankind in a higher class. Ask yourself, why is it that despite the fact that we all get the same image reflection on the back wall of our eyes, we all react differently? We will try to show that we are secure in this philosophy, and equally we will arise and take responsibility of our own feelings, habits and actions. At the moment, poverty, politics and corruption is making everyone too easily break, because they are the greatest distractions.
Do you admire and respect any other societal leaders?
I am a Konambaya. We internalize our locus of control and are intentional in every aspect. However, we do not trash any other society. It doesn't matter if you call us unconventional. If you were free of all the political, financial and social strife, what do you think those trivial leaders would be doing with your life?
On what grounds do you attribute these strifes to the leadership?
It requires a higher version of yourself to break you free from the shackles and chains. Just open your blind eyes and see that it is only you who can give the leadership privilege to these leaders using your ballot. Thereafter, they digress from the real issues facing the society. The leadership is a direct reflection of the society that established it.
Is there anything then, in your opinion, that could be done to expedite the social progress of the Konambaya?
True progress is freedom. Talking to you is freedom of speech. I am already spreading my message. As we spread, we grow. We will continue to spread the message with love. We could encourage others to dwell upon the bigger picture in our prime. A total perspective tour of space and time, where a century is just like a second in eternity. And the earth where we reside is just like a speck of dust in the universe. You better embrace your flaws and realize that you are neither a feeling nor a clause. And no one cares about your insecurities.
If Konambaya ultimately gain control as you predict, do you plan to bestow true freedom on others?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Is true freedom a want or a need? That is the first question to be answered by the student. A want is something practical and emotional, and often based on your activities. While a need is something visionary and logical, and often based on your facilities. We do not bestow freedom. It is up to the student to choose what holds true to them, and set goals that aren't controlled by external factors. And to study better than they can, when the last thing they want is more of those chapters.
Do you have a special word for young people of these days?
Young people need to understand that we are cosmos, but having a youthful body gives us a false sense of entitlement, which always falls short of time, space and knowledge, and leads to entanglement. They should always mind their actions, words and thoughts, as they will only vibrate on these platforms to bring in sync those souls that need to transform.
When you're not working, what do you spend your time doing? What do you do to restore your energy?
Well, that's a personal question. I paint pictures and do poetry. It restores my natural frequency. While listening to conscious music resets me. It kind of places a piece of me in the percussions, as a synchrony.
It is suggested also that your movement preaches fear. What is your attitude towards that?
We preach respect, not fear. The degree of your suffering is directly proportional to your ego defects. You should want to fear the fear. Why? Because there is no one such guy as perfect. Always expect the worst, and hope for the best. Respect only requires your attention to manifest and nothing else. It is here, just waiting for your attention. To form an axis, around which others will have some comprehension.
You often speak of openness among your students. Openness for what?
Openness to the source, just like this. It is your responsibility to build the foundation of your life on a godly course. Those who drain you have lower frequencies and lethargy. Being drained is a sign that you are blocked off the source of energy. Remain open to the source of flow and overflow. Then you will spill what you already have within you, and glow.
For how long do you think this openness will last? And what is the price?
Attitude is the price, and shall last for as long as the sun shines. Abandon conformity, take courage and be yourself. There can only be one version of everyone. Giving away what matters most, when you need it the most. Quoting Judy Garland, be the first-rate version of yourself, not a second-rate version of someone else.
What does it mean?
It has many meanings. One simple meaning would be, you should mind what you bring to life. Speech brings your thoughts to life. Words are acoustic beings. Words that give you goosebumps resonate with your frequency and raise your vibration. Words that trigger your negative side show you where you need to heal.
You encourage discipline, regular study and encouraging your followers to study. Why?
To uplift one another. Can you imagine the sky with a single star? Wouldn't that be a dark sky? But what magnificence would a single star be then? Your light and my light may lead others out of this darkness. People will treat you the way you view them. Therefore, you can only go as far as you think. The far you get with your thinking is by how much you are willing to study, and a level of discipline in you. Remember, we are just as strong as our weak points. We should collectively raise our threshold of pain, and train our minds to be stronger than our emotions. Our only suffering is in our perceptions.
As we wind up, what do you have for those that are in what I would call the evening of their lives? What do you encourage them to most look forward to?
This applies to everyone because no one knows their time. We all need to come to terms with our mortality. Now is the future we spoke about in the past. Our existence is a flash, and our world is just a speck of dust. Let's make peace the Jonah Baya way, or in whatsoever way, be it in meditation or religion, and turn to our source, our God, Allah, Jah, Yahweh, the Creator, the one with names no one can duplicate nor translate, the root from where all creation sprouted. May you not despair. In God, life is forever, and death is just a transition.
Thank you, Mr. Conscious Man, for your time. Looking forward to seeing you achieve this vision of a single-minded planet.
Thank you, Lydia, and have a nice day.
And there we have it, guys. The Konambaya experience. I hope you enjoyed it. I have been your host, Lydia. Until next time, goodbye.